Lolita is a book I enjoyed very much, especially how it's able to give out an aesthetic via its quoted similes. One simile that comes to mind is the gory description of Charlotte Hayes' death due to her being run over. Here Vladimir uses an assembly of similes while describing the scene, saying, "The top of her head a porridge of bone, brains, bronze hair and blood." I feel like with this quoted simile he is able to perfect in a sense the phrase "less is more," as he hints at what she looked like, but through Humbert, Vladimir doesn't give you a complete image and instead chooses to let you fill in the blanks. This has of course influenced the way that I write. I used to obsess on highlighting words that I didn't understand. I dropped that method in its entirety and was instead highlighting the use of similes. I found that the use of similes when done right can be far more powerful and effective than using articulate words whose meanings are much more in-depth compared to their similar counterparts. I attempted to integrate this into my own writing, and before my review of the anime movie Mary and the Witch's Flower, which I wasn't very fond of, describing its lackluster ending as, "The payoff of the story feels weak, like it's desperately trying to save itself with a Victoria's Studio Ghibli track playing in the background, which only helps put a half-exposed flimsy blanket on the film's downfalls and getting blown off by its brief spurt of wind," and which I felt personally was very effective writing. I feel like most of the people who rave on about the book's subject matter haven't read it. Humbert is held in legal captivity, writing down the story in immense detail and only to die of coronary thrombosis, as revealed in the book's foreword. AKA, it's literally one of the first things you find out. He doesn't really get any glory out of being around Lolita, even at the end realising wrongs he has committed. Craig Rain in the book's artwork suggests that Humbert's murder of cruelty was in order to kill off this dark side of himself. As Crane rightfully points out, the name cruelty sounds very close to guilty, and so Vladimir once again uses the English language to give us hints. As Humbert learns, Lolita only physically represents what he was hoping for, given her nymph appearance, but personality-wise she tends to do more harm than good to him, and so he goes through a seesaw of emotions. This in itself for Humbert is a worse of punishment than prison could have ever been. The book, while one would assume it is a romance, is more of a feel-wise, but described by Humbert in his very attentive but detached writing style. Him becoming Lolita's guardian doesn't have to gratify his dark fantasies either, as she becomes more and more distant towards him throughout the book, slowly growing guilty about his actions and only be able to derive little pleasure from having sex with her, instead feeling guilty and disgusted himself, like how Lolita grows more and more disgusted in him. All of this comes tumbling down on him, ruining how he feels himself mentally and physically. For example, Wayne mentions that at the start of the book, Humbert sees himself as an attractive man, but by the end he can only see himself as a grubby old man. So Humbert's killing of cruelty represents in the book's logic the killing of this side of himself. This can be suggested by Humbert's second name literally being Humbert, as Wayne rightfully suggests that this can be interpreted as the yin and yang of how Humbert perceives himself throughout the book, following his progressive deterioration. I'd recommend reading Craig Rain's analysis of the book, as he's able to point out things that I'm sure no one would be able to connect the dots to on their first read of the book. It's amazing to think how different kinds of people find merits in the book. To me, the creative use of similes as building blocks struck out to me the most, and were what I'd really consider the book's main source of inspiration to me. But he was able to approach the book in a much more analytical manner. After who knows how many times of rereading the book, I'd like to read a small portion of his analysis to further give a grasp at how insane his analysis can be. Incest brings out the intricate side of Nabokov. At the hotel, the room number is 342, the number of the Hayes house in Ramsdale, and also the number of hotels, chapter 23 part 2, at which Humbert has registered in his travels with Lowe. We had been everywhere. We had really seen nothing. From 342 to 342, fire 342. The mirror image of the trap numeral is perfect for incest, the coupling of identicals, and therefore the hotel room is the wilderness of doubles. There was a double bed, a mirror, a double bed in the mirror, a closet door with a mirror, a bathroom door, ditto, etc. Would I recommend it to everyone? No. While I'm fine with reading books with disturbing subject matter, as I tend to go to the route of separating reality from fiction no matter what, I can see other people being turned off by this. After watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, I've been realising that I tend to be a fan of things that are more slow-paced, and I couldn't think of a more fitting tribute to this than Lolita. As while I loved and admired Humbert's writing style for this and many other reasons, I could also see other people losing interest, but I digress. In conclusion, Lolita's a book that I personally loved. I feel like it's a must-read for any writer who would like to learn how to approach their writing in a much more aesthetic manner and by using the English language. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov is a very good place to start to pick up on this.